Welcome everyone, welcome to another preview. This is MetalCanyon and we will be previewing the prototype of an upcoming game called Crest from a developer that is called Eat, Create, Sleep. So, they eat, create and sleep, which is what we all do. Well, most of us also create, but they also create games, so there's that. Now this is a very early prototype, which it's rather interesting. Let me show you. What is Crest all about? Well, there you go. We've got our little island here, surrounded by a vast ocean, I assume, excuse me. And as you can see, the graphics are very nice and stylized. I mean, for a prototype. As I said, this is very early, very prototype-ish. So, yeah. I do like what they've done with the graphics. I don't know if this is gonna be the art direction they're going into for the final release or not. I can't say that. In any case, the game is very basic at the moment. You have 3 tribes over here, or 3 clans, which are living. And essentially, as I said in the beginning, what is the game about? It's a god game. You are, I think, almost literally a god. So, oh, one of the tribes has already died off, which I'll get to that in a moment. You are a god, and you give your people, or your followers, commandments. So, in a way, it's a little bit like black and white, but you cannot, you know, pick people up and tell them what to do. You give them commandments. So, for those of you who are religious, that will probably be you know, familiar, and even to those of us who aren't. But there we go. So, if you want to make a commandment, or give a commandment, we will say, this is still very prototype and early, of course, so let's say, if you have high fertility, because I want them to reproduce, see, these guys do not reproduce, if you have high fertility, then you should have high fertility. Now, since I've done that, it says if you have high fertility, you should have high fertility. It sounds a little odd, but, like, you know, all people in the world, they will also try to understand this as best as they can. And through generations, or through the years, they will rewrite commandments. You know, just like every commandment in real life. You know, things will get rewritten, and sometimes it will not really come out as you want it to. So let me add another one. If you have, let's say, low goodwill, then you should have low greed. There. So hopefully, there we go. They've rewritten that one. If you have high fertility, you should live a short life. Bloody hell, that's not what I wanted. I wanted you to reproduce, have kids. You know, if you have high fertility, you should be like bunnies, I should have said. But yeah, they will rewrite commandments and probably give you a headache sometimes. And sometimes it will actually be good. You know, sometimes they will rewrite this as, if you have high fertility, you should have a lot of kids, or stuff like that, which is exactly what I wanted. So let's see what happens to the low goodwill. Let me speed things up a bit. There. If you have goodwill, you should have low greed, which is actually fairly good. So, you know, good-willed people will have low greed, which means they will not take a lot of food out of storage. You have over here 2 days of food, 1 day of food, 2 days of food, and then we have another clan now. Now, the problem I have in the prototype is I can't, for the life of me, yet, I mean, admittedly, I haven't really spent a lot of time with the game yet, but I can't, for the life of me, figure out how to keep these clans alive. Because, as you can see, 2 of the clans do not reproduce. You have a little timer up here, which says, currently 39 years of age, will die at 50 years old. Now, I assume that's for the entire clan, because when this, you know, reaches 50, the entire clan dies. As you can see, these guys are pretty bad. Too old to work, and they do not reproduce. These guys are okay. There is sufficient food. There will be new additions to our city in about 11 days. So that's pretty good. Let me make another one. If you have low what? Wait. If you have high goodwill, you should have low greed. Or actually, if you have high goodwill, you should have high fertility. So let's see that. if you are high on greed, you should have high chastity. Let's see what they say about that. It's raining! So there we go. There's the little hearts coming out. So anyway, over here we have low conservatism, slow to rewrite commandments and to change in characteristics, low willingness to move. So all of this will affect your ability to control them. If you have a good high goodwill, you should have high fertility. Oh, that's good. If you have high greed, you should have high chastity. And there we go. I only have one clan now. And thankfully they do reproduce. But see, I don't quite understand what's going on yet. I don't think those have reached... Oh, they only live 20 years. Bloody hell. High goodwill. Provide food for the storage. Take a small portion of the food stored. High fertility. Focus on reproduction. Low lifespan. Prefers to live in crowded cities. Of course, this is not perfect. I would want it somewhere in the middle. But we'll see. And because this is now like this... If you have high greed, you should only work. Oh, that's not bad, actually. Yeah. So let's see. They will probably die and the game will be over. 19, they have 4 days and 1 day to live. Yeah, there we go. End of story. I don't understand. I have such trouble. Okay, menu. Let's try another one. Yeah, I have huge troubles, but I mean, in essence, this is just a prototype. It doesn't matter if I can't play it at the moment or if I don't understand the mechanics quite a bit. What is important is that we see what the game what direction the game will be going in, and it's quite interesting. It's sort of a more hands-off approach, black and white, I guess. You can't pick people up, you can't place down structures and so on, although of course that might change, although I doubt it. I think they will be doing more things with commandments. Now my concern is, how will they be doing it? I mean, adding commandments is all nice and fine, right? But if that's all you do, then you indeed have a very hands-off approach, and you indeed will feel perhaps a little helpless, just like there, where all of my clans died and I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't give them food. There we go, one of them died for some reason. Or maybe they merged, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, wow, they made another village. Oh, they moved, okay. Oh, that's interesting. That's quite interesting, okay. They have very high fertility. But yeah, I mean, if you only will have commandments, they will seriously need to make it very complex and have it a lot of effect on how the tribes live. So you will actually feel like you're playing a game, not just merely vaguely suggesting to the little figures what they should do. But I have to say, it's a very interesting concept. You know, giving commands like this, or commandments in this case, and having them rewrite commandments. Now, I'm not sure what you will do. Of course, commandments get lost with time. So even if you have a bad commandment, you will, let's say, they will lose them. You know, so it's not the end of everything. It's not horrible. If you have high greed, you should have high goodwill. Let's try that one and see how they interpret that one. If you have high fertility, you should have average greed. So we'll see. It's raining. We want to move out, but we want others to move with us. Okay, no idea what to do with that. That's interesting though. As you can see, they also have little farms over here. It certainly gives a very Africa-esque... Oh, another village! Wow! Yeah, a very African, you know, vibe to everything. I mean, even the guys, as you can see, are... Well, they're not really black, they're sort of brownish. But yeah, certainly gives you, especially the soundtrack as well, gives you a feeling that this is going on in Africa. And what the hell? I have never been this successful. I mean, at the same time, I'm not doing much, so perhaps that's why they're successful. Oh, never mind. This village is empty, this village is empty, and this village only has one tribe, and this one has 2. So I'll take that back. If you have a high characteristics, you should take less food. That's exactly what I do not want. If you have fertility, you shouldn't share your food. That's okay, I guess. Let's see, if you have high conservative, you should have average conservative. Darn. I have indeed crashed the prototype. Well, that hasn't happened before. But yeah, we're not gonna judge it. It's just a prototype. So I've got a different island now. I wasn't doing really that good actually before, because, well, they were making a lot of villages. But, well, most of them were abandoned afterwards. So anyway, where were we? Oh yes, with the commandments. Let's see. If you have high greed, you should have high goodwill. So let's try to balance that out. If you have high fertility, you should have average greed. If you have low progressive, you should have high progressive. So, let's see how this works. And in the meantime, yes, it's a very interesting concept for the game. And I do have to wonder where they will take it with the commandments. They will have to have, for a full game, a seriously, if you have high greed, you should take less food. Excellent. They will have to have a seriously complex system of giving the commandments. If you have fertility, you should have average greed. Excellent. So, you know, hopefully they can make this interesting to play, and also not have the player feel like they can't really do anything. We're hungry even after we took food from the storage. What? Still. If you have low progressive, you should update the commandments. Oh, well, that's not quite what I wanted, but okay. We'll see what happens. What else? If you have high goodwill, you should have high fertility. Oh, 4 tribes now. Wow, that's pretty good. So let's see what they say about that. If you have a low characteristic, you should update the commandments. Well, I guess. If you have goodwill, you should have high fertility. Let's see, there's quite a lot of these little farms now. That's quite nice. There's even one there. Anything else? No. That's pretty good, though. I feel good as a god. Although, you know, it's good to be bad. And I see, okay, so... And now there's only 3 tribes. Great. If you have low... Oh, what happened? If you have goodwill, you should only reproduce... Well, not really. If you have low chastity, you should have high fertility. Yeah, let's just play around with the combinations a little bit and see how they interpret them. No, that's okay. We want to move out, but there's not enough food to do it. You have, well, 2 days of food now. So yeah, that's interesting. It appears that there's a central area and there's up to 4 tribes working together at the same time. Although, it doesn't really seem like they work together. Because as you can see, everyone has their own food supplies. Everyone has their own farms, and so on and so forth. And once again, excuse the language, but I'm pretty boned. Or at least the tribes are boned. Because these 2 do not reproduce. And these ones are really, yeah, we're too young to work, but we can improve the happiness of the community. Well, if you have high goodwill, you should have low greed. I mean, that's pretty obvious, so I just want to see how they'll interpret that one. Probably if you have high goodwill, you should not eat at all and die. Let's see. No? Oh, if you have high goodwill, you shouldn't share your food. So basically, I just made it wars. That's a big guy. I think they're making a new village. Where are you going? Over here? I see. Aardvark clan. If there is sufficient food, there will be new additions to our city in about 1 day. Excellent. And there is sufficient food, apparently. Okay. So, but they're not really working, are they? If you have... Can we change these? No. If you have low progressiveness, you should have high progressiveness. I also want to say production. Are there any more villages? No. Rain Clan. Well, actually, these guys are okay. We're sad because one of the space... because of the space in the village. There are too many people here. We're happy because of the village. It's much room for everyone. And these ones... We're sad because of the recent deaths in our tribe. Well, deaths are always present. Right, let's see the commandment I just put down. If you have progressive, you should have high progressive. Oh, excellent. That's pretty good, actually. We're hungry, even after we took food from the storage. That's because you have no bloody farms. Come on, make some bloody farms. See, there's nothing you can really do. You can only give them commandments. And, yeah, they can interpret them in various ways. And then you pull your hat out. Oh, there we go. Baby, yes, farm. Oh, 3 tribes here again. I'm being a lot more, yeah, a lot more successful with this one this time for some reason. Excellent. Yes, do the farming thing. If you have progressive, you should update the commandments. If you have goodwill, you shouldn't share your food. If you have chastity, you should live a short life. If you have high greed, you should have low... No. If you have high greed, you should have low conservative. So they will not update my commandments. If you have high, let's say, goodwill, you should have high progressiveness. See what they say? Nothing in the moment. Still okay. And as expected... Oh, these guys are actually progressing nicely. 3 days of food, 60 days, I guess. 60 years. Although sometimes it says days, for the kids, for example. 60 days of age. They have kids, they've got a pretty good day at the farm. We're content with our happiness. We also worked a lot towards building farms, and we're happy because of the new additions to the tribe, so this is pretty good. Average conservative. Right, if you have high greed, you should keep the commandments intact. Excellent. If you have high goodwill, you should adapt quickly. Ah. If you have high goodwill, you should share your food. If you have high fertility, you should have average greed. So, you know, they get more food. And if you have high fertility, you should have... No, actually... Yeah, if you have high fertility, you should have high fertility. Hopefully they will interpret that as have more kids, my minions. If you have a high characteristic, you should keep the commandments intact. If you have fertility, you should have average greed. If you have high fertility, you should only reproduce. Excellent, finally. That's the one I wanted. And indeed, they're all fairly quickly reproducing. This one is empty. Are there any more villages? No, that... Oh. Bloody hell. They've went far away. Unfortunately, they're too old to work, which means they will all die off. But as you can see, even in the prototype stage, it's quite an interesting little game. You know, there's not a lot to do at the moment, as I said. And the commandments are sort of hit and miss. So they will need to explain that in the full game a lot more thoroughly. And how it actually works. But yeah, this is certainly an interesting little prototype. Again, this is very early. A prototype only. This is not how the full game will look like, or perhaps even the mechanics will be changed and everything. But yeah, this is rather interesting. If you want to support them, they have an Indiegogo page now. I'll put the link down below, so you can put your money towards the game there. And bloody hell, I'm doing pretty well. I mean, admittedly, I'm mostly looking at the fertility thing. Well, that's pretty good. Average greed. Wow! There's yet another tribe over here. This city is growing. Wow. I kind of wish I could save now. But in any case, yes, this is it. This is Crest by Eat, Create, Sleep Studios. And this has been MetalCanyon, and I will see you in the next preview. Bye-bye.